Alright, so this is kind of a rant I've been wanting to make for a while. Not even particularly a rant, just kind of something that I've been taking note of, and I do generally wonder. And I think this is the perfect time to do it with the new Fantastic Four movie out. I haven't seen the Fantastic Four yet, and I was debating waiting until I've seen the Fantastic Four to make this video, but I can get the point across without having seen it. Fantastic Four would have just helped exemplify my point, and I could still use Fantastic Four as an example, even without having seen it, and just even before I even go into my actual main topic, just going off on a side tangent about Fantastic Four for like 2 seconds, it's not even that I don't like the movie. I mean, I could tell that I really wouldn't, but that's not even because, of particularly the movie itself. I mean, yeah, the movie itself, but it's more because I'm not a huge fan of the Fantastic Four. There are elements of the Fantastic Four I like, but those elements are notably not in this movie, and I could tell that right off the bat almost. I will end up seeing the movie eventually. I mean, I may Redbox it. I'm probably not going to see it in the theaters unless my friends go and see it, but I don't even think they want to see it in the theaters. So, yeah, I mean, I'll give more kind of, I guess, discussion on my views on the Fantastic Four and, what elements I like and what aren't in this movie and stuff like that, if and when I kind of get around to making a review of the movie. But for now, I guess I'll just get to my main topic. It's just, there's this thing that's been kind of on my mind lately. It's this whole notion of, are superhero movies really, I mean, yeah, they are good and bad, but are superhero movie goers, the fans, I guess you can even say comic book fans, hell, even general audience kind of at this point, are we becoming spoiled almost? And spoiled, there might be a better word, but spoil's kind of the first thing I could think of. Are we becoming spoiled, or are we still kind of accurately judging good and bad superhero movies based on the movie themselves? I mean, I know that standards have gone up. Definitely standards have changed, but I feel like maybe superhero fans or comic book fans or even just general audience, I feel like maybe we're getting a little bit spoiled. I don't know. Because, alright, I guess I'll start from the bottom and work our way to the top. I mean, the second The Dark Knight came out, that kind of changed everything. And notably so. I mean, that's if not one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. And it deserves that title. I mean, no doubtably so. But that was an anomaly at the time. And it's still kind of an anomaly. I mean, there have been good superhero movies since then, but I don't think that there have been many that are arguably Dark Knight tier. You can make an argument for The Winter Soldier, and you can make an argument for The Avengers, but I can't really think of any other. There are movies that I prefer over The Dark Knight, but that's just me being fans of those characters more than I am of Batman. But ever since The Dark Knight came out, I mean, let's I think even in that same summer, X-Men Origins Wolverine came out, which wasn't a good movie per se, but it was, I think it's still notably better than some of the other X-Men movies that came out. I think it's better than X-Men 1, and I think it's obviously better than Last Stand, but that movie did not do well, and it wasn't received well either, and it was partially because it came after X-Men 3, but it was also partially because it came after The Dark Knight as well, and The Dark Knight kind of raised that bar. Now, yet again, I think most people will acknowledge, like me, that The Dark Knight was an anomaly, but I think it's almost that kind of concept that's beginning to happen. Because we have this amazing, this grand Marvel Cinematic Universe that has been created, and it's received with this kind of grandiose gravitas type. Just everyone loves it, and everyone, even if everyone doesn't love it, everyone can acknowledge that it's kind of this grand thing to behold. And it is. I mean, it's something that really hasn't been done, not to this magnitude. But I feel like because of it, it's kind of changing our standards. And all right, so let's look at movies like The Green Lantern. The Green Lantern wasn't a good movie, by today's standards. But if you were to put it back in the era of, let's say, Spider-Man 1, or Spider-Man 2 or 3, if you were to put it around that era, and I think it actually did come around Spider-Man 3. I don't remember exactly when Green Lantern came out, but I don't think it could have been that much later than Spider-Man 3, maybe like 2010. I don't know. Spider-Man 3 came out in like 2007. I don't remember exactly when Green Lantern came out, but if it came out before the cinematic universe started, and back when we were kind of in the era of, the original Ghost Rider and, midway through the Raimi trilogy and stuff like that, back when those movies were coming out, I feel like it would have been a lot better received. It might not have been great, but I think it would have been better received. I mean, even stepping up the bar a little bit, let's look at Age of Ultron. I mean, I personally had some issues with the movie, but all in all, it was alright. It wasn't a bad movie, it just had some problems. But, all movies have problems. But I find it interesting because there are some people saying it was absolutely horrible. And I think part of that is because we got the Avengers 1, which was really good, and we got Winter Soldier, which was really, really good. And I think that kind of set the bar temporarily, so people were expecting the Avengers 2 to play up to that bar and reach that bar, and it didn't. And I think people kind of found that jarring for some reason. I didn't go in expecting it to match that bar. I understand that Winter Soldier and Avengers 1 are both anomalies. And I think it's for that reason that I kind of receive Avengers 1 a little bit better than some others, at least some of my friends. So I find that kind of interesting, and and let's look at Ant-Man as well. Ant-Man, I think it's doing good. It's making good numbers. I think it was like number 1 for like a couple weeks actually, which is pretty good. But there was this whole thing when it came out initially where people were looking at the opening weekend numbers and it was like, oh no, it's not making the numbers that Avengers made. And I found that so strange because of course it's not going to. And it's like this whole notion of everything has to break records now. Like people almost get, like the movie gets put into question if it's not breaking records, and they almost expect because it's in the cinematic universe, it automatically has to break records, and I find that so strange. So even, excluding movies outside of the cinematic universe, movies in the cinematic universe also get this kind of backlash because of the cinematic universe's existence. It's kind of fascinating. And then there's movies outside of the cinematic universe. I guess the best example now is Fantastic Four. Again, it doesn't look horrible to me. It just, the elements of Fantastic Four I enjoy about the comics aren't apparent in this movie, from what I've gathered from the trailer, which is fine. That's just me. But, I've looked at the reviews lately, and I find it strange because, yet again, I've only seen a few clips online, I haven't seen the full movie, and I've only seen the trailers. But from what I gather, it's kind of like a Spider-Man Raimi movie, or it's kind of like a Green Lantern, where it kind of fits that old kind of mold of superhero movies, kind of your typical origin, your typical villain, kind of like the old Fantastic Four movies, maybe just kind of a different approach, and which is fine, but I think like Green Lantern, that would have fit a lot better in kind of the last era of comic book movies. I think we've evolved to a point where a movie like that, I mean, I've looked at some of the ratings. Some people are rating even worse than Batman and Robin. I find that so strange because if you take it back 10 years, it would have been received a lot better. Maybe it wouldn't have broken records. It might not have been the greatest superhero movie of all time, but it would have been a lot better received than it is now. So I find this really strange.